Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today let's go over the market, let's see what happened, and let's just talk about it because it was a bit of a wild one, right? So all that being said and done, let's get into it. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. None of this is financial advice, blah, 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 blah. Market closes in about 4 minutes. Tesla pretty much flat actually, which, compared to the market is not that bad, but considering Tesla was up about, I think about the 3%-ish at its highest point. And now ending the day flat, essentially losing that 3% throughout the course of the day, which, it kind of sucks. But again, relative to the market, it's still substantially outperforming. Considering the QQQ is down 1.5%, Tesla normally would be down at least like almost 3% in a normal day, if you will. And if it was like one of the more recent days, Tesla would probably be down like 7%. Let's be honest here, right? So ultimately, this is still a pretty decent thing to see relative to just, again, the market and how Tesla has been performing for the past like a few weeks at this point, where it feels like it was just always down regardless of the market. And if the market was down, Tesla was extra down. So pretty decent performance regardless, even though it feels like it kind of sucks. But let's talk about it, right? So the easiest thing to point out here is the fact that we have approached the second line of major resistance, right? So these are the two lines that I've been talking about ultimately, right? From all the way up here, you have what's it called? Oopsies. Oh my goodness, I don't know what I am doing right now. I just pressed some buttons by accident. There we go. All right. So ultimately, from all the way up here, we have the two lines, right? This kind of blue line and this kind of greenish line, right? So the first blue line was the one that we've been talking about for quite a while, where we have essentially broke out of, and we actually retested it twice. We did it once this morning and we did it once on Friday, right? Where we came down, bounced off, came down pretty much almost the exact same level-ish in terms of, the line respectively on its new kind of angle, if you will. Bounced off more or less successfully as well. And we had a beautiful run up in the morning, the first half of the day, until the second half of the day was just essentially a sell off. But to be fair, it is of course selling off along with the actual market itself, right? So the market is bringing Tesla down, even though it's still actually green, which is not too bad, right? So, but the thing is that you have to remember is the fact that we are essentially retesting that second line I've been talking about, the more kind of less generous line, right? Which is this kind of green one all the way up here. I did swap positions. This blue one used to be the green one. I swapped them, but regardless, the point is still there. The fact that, this is the ultimate trend line. This is, to me, breaking this one is the true test, the real test, if you will, right? Where if we can break above this one here and actually start closing above it, that to me is like extra bullish. The fact that we're still above this teal line or this blue one right here, and still maintaining above it and everything is, overall a good sign. The RSI is still looking like, has like a nice bullish divergence and everything like that. So that's still looking pretty decent. The sell-off, unfortunately, today, pretty much half of this candle, the top has been completely sold off. Is a little bit unfortunate to see, of course, but, it's not all that bad just yet. And I still think Tesla, for now, at least, as it stands, as of this very moment, actually still looks pretty good. And I personally like the way it looks. So I am not too upset about that. Something else I will show you guys that I'm happy or excited about is the fact that someone that I follow, hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this, but he has his Twitter kind of privated, but he essentially stated the fact that the last time the AI designated Tesla as quote unquote oversold was in August, and we know what happened. Tesla essentially rocketed. And here's the AI update this morning. The current spot at 183, the price target at 225, with 33 distinct episodes since 2010. And I would not bet against this projection, where essentially he's saying that the AI is that has been successfully overall calling Tesla quote unquote bottoms or short-term bottoms or whatever, is once again calling a potential bottom, where you can see we're pretty much around this level right now, more or less, and is pretty much predicting a pathway, something along the lines of this you can see right here, right? So ultimately, it's pretty much saying that Tesla is at a short-term bottom, and it seems like Tesla wants to go ahead and rally up to around that 220 to 230 level, right? Which is a level I've been personally calling for a decent amount now, right? Where I personally wouldn't be surprised if we do ultimately get to that stage, which, will potentially give us a beautiful pattern to set up as well. But for now, the main thing you want to be paying attention to, guys, is of course these two bad boys right here, which we are actually closing over just barely, right? The 5 and the 10-day moving average. But the main thing I would personally be looking at is not only maintaining our levels above this kind of bluish line here, but also wanting to break this kind of greenish line right above us that we got rejected at today, which as the days go forward, the resistance level will actually get lower, right? So for instance, tomorrow, the resistance level instead of today being this kind of almost 190s, tomorrow it'll be closer to like 187. And then the day after that, it'll be closer to, like 185, right? Essentially, it'll just keep kind of moving downwards, right? So kind of setting up a potential squeeze, if you will, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing, and that's kind of what I'm personally eyeballing and waiting for. And that's the main thing I'm personally paying attention to, right? As long as, if we go to the 4-hour charts, you can see, as the stock is extremely obviously kind of, making an overall downturn, right? It's just making lower lows, lower highs, just constantly going downwards, right? It's a downward slope, very obvious one as well. You can see here a very obvious upward slope, which again is an ultimate bearish or bullish divergence, right? Stock is going down, RSI is going the complete opposite direction, right? Beautiful, beautiful textbook bullish divergence. I'm still feeling good about it. I'm still happy about it. And I still think it will personally play out. And I still think we will get an overall rally coming relatively soon, which I am excited about. So with that being said and done, what I personally have done was on this red, pretty much exactly where we closed. I actually sold a weekly put, just one. And I'll see what that, of course, does for me. And if it executes, that's all good for me, right? But that's kind of what I'm doing at the very moment. Didn't sell any calls up here, unfortunately, because I didn't want to risk it, because I thought that there's a chance we break out. We didn't, unfortunately, but I don't want to limit my upside exposure just yet. Let's just say that, right? So I'm personally waiting for an actual breakout out of this level, right? Now, what does it look like on a slightly longer time frame? Let's say we do break out, right? What can it potentially look like? Well, first and foremost, what we have potentially setting up here is a very small inverted head and shoulders. You can see right here, right on this kind of 30-minute, you can see we have this potential shoulder right here on the left. We have the, what's it called? The head down here, and then we have potential left or the right, I guess, more shoulder setting up right around over here. So that can potentially be one bullish pattern setting up, right? If we break out of this, beautiful. But on the slightly longer time frame, we have the exact same pattern setting up, just on a longer time frame, being of course the left shoulder right here, the head pretty much being all the way over here, and then potentially the right shoulder here. So if we do break out and actually make that rally all the way up to like the 220 to 230 range, which will probably be right around this level up here that we got rejected, this will most likely be something that will play out. We go up here, get rejected, come back down, and again, this is the bullish scenario. Get rejected, come down to around 200-ish once again, set up the right shoulder, and then as long as that holds, and as long as we can break above 230, that inverted head and shoulders will play out, which is a much larger time frame, which would be significantly more bullish, which would then, of course, in my opinion, lead us easily to potentially, the way you measure it is you measure from the top to the bottom, right? So for instance, if 230 is the resistance, right, let's say, and then you go from over here, right, you can easily kind of measure it something along the lines of from top to bottom, which would be something along the lines of this, and you measure it from roughly the breakout, the breakout, which again, this is just a bullish aspect. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Will pretty much lead us all the way up to this red line, give or take, which will pretty much lead us up to like $280 if it were to play out. Again, that's just an if. That's just an example. That's just a possibility, a scenario. It doesn't have to play out like that. It very well might not play out like that, but that is a possibility of something that might develop and form and activate and play out in the future, the not so distant future, right? Maybe the next few months or so, right? To up maybe half a year. Something like that is kind of what I would personally, potentially be seeing. But again, that's just an example, right? Doesn't have to. But anyways, the main thing again for the short term, guys, for the next even a week or two, the main thing I'm personally looking for right now is not only breaking out of this overall downtrend that I did talk about, this kind of green line, but also ultimately, in my opinion, I really want to see 200. Like pretty much between 195 to 205, that range right there, I think will be overall pretty massive resistance. And I want to see a break and a hold above 195 to 205, that whole level. I really want to see us get above that and stay above that. Those are the two key things I am personally paying attention to for further upside. For downside, however, what I don't want to see is I really don't want to see us go back below, really too far below, honestly, like the 175, 176 level. I don't want to go too far below that. I really want to ideally hold the 176-ish range and not go far below that at all if we can. That would be, to me, ideal. And even more crucial would be something along the lines of, let's go back to the daily, right? Even more crucial to me would be pretty much, I don't want to break down below this red line. Ideally as well, right? So pretty much just the whole 170s range is a pretty important range that ideally we want to hold as much as possible, right? And if we ever break below this low over here, which is 166, that is to me not very good news, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing at the very moment. Ladies and gentlemen, overall, I am still more bullish than bearish, absolutely. That can change, of course. All it takes sometimes is even one trading day, right? With the way this market can move sometimes. But that's kind of what I'm seeing. The SPY, you can see that they get rejected, but we are still ultimately in this upward channel, which as long as we are here, I'm not that bearish yet. If we fall out of this, that's when things can get a little bit more questionable, right? But ultimately, you can see the QQQ potentially setting up, kind of a bull flag-ish pattern, or even maybe like a bull pennant you can see right here. Right, something like this as well, right? Potentially setting up something along the lines of this as well, give or take. So that's something else that could be potentially pretty bullish, right? So we'll see what this ends up forming, guys. We'll see where this ends up taking us, but that is currently what I'm seeing at the very moment. So let me know what you think down below. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.